Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening, I'm Jace Mackey. Things are almost completely packed up after an exciting week at the Heavy Oil Show. We went down to ask exhibitors about their experience at this year's show. The bustle in the halls has simmered down a few after there's only a few dedicated organizers left to trying to tie the bow on the great show. Partners and exhibitors were also pleased by the great week of attendance and fantastic weather for the outdoor displays.
A lot of attention. Like I said, the weather was good, so being outside this year was worked out in our favor, I guess. The organizers did a really good job of making sure that the attendance was up and people stayed on the grounds, and it was really well organized.
Some of our clients that we have service out in the oil field, which was good to see, and I thought it was well attended by producers in the area, and it's a good sign that they come out to see this show.
The mechanical wastewater treatment facility is currently being updated to meet current requirements. Our Sarah Baker has a story.
For Council, the updates on how the wastewater treatment facility is coming along is something they are proud of. One of the reasons things are going so well is because of the new delivery model of construction which was chosen to be used for the facility.
It's proving to be a very, very successful model that people across the country are actually looking at as a way to deliver a large project like this. And even through COVID, and you hear of all the things that have happened as far as cost overruns and delays and shortages, using this method has really shielded us from seeing that overrun in cost. And it's a real proud moment for all of us at the city that we're getting closer to completion, that it's going to be done on time and be ready to be up and running the end of 2023 as discussed and on budget.
With the updates, another thing that came forward is that the affluent coming out of the plant is actually a higher quality than what has been drawn from the North Saskatchewan River. Because of this, there were questions regarding the possible revenue potential.
My question really was around, was there an additional cost relative to that production of the effluent, or having the capacity to, pipe it off or sell it, whatever it is? And the answer was no. The plant's integrity was the plant's integrity. Anything done after that in terms of, how we distributed or routed it or whatever was an entirely different discussion and cost to be reviewed at that time.
For the people who have worked on the project in order to get it done and stay on track, it has been a team effort.
I had the opportunity to visit with one of our local residents who was an operator for a local company in the oil and gas industry that was working on that project. And he shared with me in just a very short portion that it was just a great project to work on because he actually felt part of the team, not just a lonely operator in his piece of equipment, but a part of the team. He worked with other people from other companies. And he says, that's not something I do every day in the oil patch. It's something new for me. And that just relates to how important this project has been for teamwork from the top to the bottom.
Sarah Baker, Primetime Local News.
And now it's time for us to check in for the first time with Shelby Clark, who has a look at weather.
Thank you so much there, Mr. Jace Mackey. Yes, now taking a first look at your weather forecast for here in the border city on a Friday, starting off the weekend. We are seeing a slightly warmer temperature at that 18 right now, but we are seeing a little bit more of a cloudier overcast as we went on through the day, heading more into the evening. We did see a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds earlier on if you stood outside whatsoever, but still feels quite warm. Might need a light jacket, but it's still pretty nice. Hopefully we'll be seeing that sun peek up behind those clouds throughout the weekend and into tomorrow, but for now we're still looking quite warm. And now switching over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan. On the Alberta side, we are seeing some slightly cooler temperatures compared to yesterday. Most spots seeing between 16 to 18 degrees in most areas. Down in Provost and Vegreville seeing slightly cooler with 14, 15 up in Cold Lake, while over in Edmonton they are seeing the warmest conditions there at that 21 mark. Switching over to our Saskatchewan side, they are looking slightly cooled down as well compared to yesterday. Most spots just seeing between 16 to 18, especially over in this this area here. And we start to warm up slightly as we get to Maidstone and North Battleford with that 18 and 21 in North Battleford. Down in Macklin, they are seeing slightly cooled down conditions compared with that 16. For North Battleford, they will be going down to low of 8 for their evening low, so they will be seeing that single digits. Although we are still seeing not too bad of single digits for our evening lows, they will be seeing a high chance of that precipitation later on through the evening. Then tomorrow, looking at 23 throughout the day, so even warming up from what they are sitting at now and seeing a mixture of some sun and cloud. Cold Lake will be going out to low of 10, so even warming up to those double digits for their evening low temperature, although we'll be seeing a high chance of that precipitation starting off later in the evening. Then tomorrow that will continue into the morning. They will be seeing 18, so warming up slightly, not hitting that 20 mark just yet, and they will be seeing a little bit more gloomier conditions, unfortunately, for Cold Lake. And for us, we will be seeing that low again for our evening temperature tonight into our weekend. We will be seeing that high chance of that drizzle later on. Then seeing 19 tomorrow, and we will be seeing a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. So get ready, we will be seeing a beautiful day tomorrow. And ending off with showing off with another photo submissions of, for our fishing contest. Once again, thank you to everyone that submitted some nice photos to our Facebook page. The draw is now coming to a close. We will be choosing winners on Monday, and this one is from Greg. This is a nice one. Love seeing those clouds in sight. And ending off just showing what you can win with submitting those photos. So thank you to everyone that participated so far. And that's all I have for now. With more coming up after the break.
Welcome back to Primetime Local News. It's that time again for another look at the crop report. Here's Thomas Wildman.
Fall is quickly approaching, and that means that crop producers are running a little low on time in order to get their crop off of their fields. And so we have Matt Struthers here to talk to us about stuff like that, as well as the crop report for in general in Saskatchewan. And so thank you once again for being with us, Matt.
Thanks for having me back on.
Down to that third week of September, we've mentioned that most producers are out trying to get their crops off. Has that number, I would assume, has increased? And are any crop producers worrying about an incoming frost coming in closer up to October?
Yeah, so harvest is general across the whole province now, and we've seen great progress all the way from the south all the way to the north. The southwest and west central are going to be finished up here in a couple of weeks, maybe less than that, probably about a week and a half. Whereas those other regions are probably looking at just about 2 weeks and a little bit more before they're going to see the tail end of their harvest. Frost is always an issue. We did have a few frosts in the province this past week. Some were just some light frost down here in the south, and some were hard frosts up north. So the hope is that the crop is either off that field already or too mature to be affected. So that damage is still being assessed, but still quite the worry for some producers out there.
Most producers are now going to be definitely able to get into their crops right now, not really having to deal with mud, as that rain has slowed down mostly across the province. Would a big rain cause problems for producers right now? Or are they kind of mostly just going to be able to weather through most of it, just like as long as a bad frost doesn't come by, they should be fine?
Yeah, as far as I know, there hasn't been any issues with getting into fields. We've certainly been drying out in the last month and a half. We haven't had any huge rains. But no, if we did, for any of those producers in the north or in the east regions, if they got a heavy rain, maybe a couple days of heavy rain, that would certainly set them back just due to that moisture being in the crop, and they would definitely have to come off and be dried. But for those who have finished harvest, a good heavy rain would go a long ways to replenishing that soil moisture. But also looking at the livestock side of things, the province could really go for a drink on the pastures. A lot of those pastures out there are dried up, and it's being difficult, or it's very difficult for cattle to find anything to graze. So hopefully those pastures get a drink soon, and those cattle can eat before they get to go home and be fed off the bales.
What other options are cattle producers exercising right now in terms of making sure that they've got enough feed for their cattle to hopefully make sure that they can graze up until fall / start feeding once that fall and winter season comes around?
I'm sure they'll graze as long as they can. You got to push those pastures to the last second before you can get onto your winter feed stock. So and when it comes to winter feed, for those producers who are short, they're finding any option that they can, whether that's hay from Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, down into the States, neighbors, stuff like that. So they're working very hard on finding that feed, and hopefully it's there. I mean, for a lot of producers did have some extra feed just due to the hay crop they had this year. So hopefully there's an opportunity for neighbors to help neighbors.
Well, I think that'll do it for the crop report this week. It's a pretty simple week as it's just time to start harvesting. And so thank you, as always, for being with us once again, Matt.
No, thank you very much for having me.
And now here's a look at today's agriculture prices. Well, the day has finally arrived for the Lloydminster Bobcats. Their 40th season officially begins tonight. The Bobcats will face off against the Whitecourt Wolverines at the Civic Centre. After going through training camp and preseason action, the club is looking to build off of their success from last season heading into tonight.
Just taking the little steps here and there, like going game after game, practice after practice, just taking the little steps and continuing to do the good habits, because that's what like Nigel and the coaching staff's definitely preaching and stuff like that. And I think if we stick to that, we can definitely make bigger and bigger strides.
Puck drop is set to take place at 7 p.m. Now it's going to be a busy weekend of Rustlers athletics as both the women's and men's volleyball team will play at home for the first time this season. Both teams are hosting a preseason tournament starting today, and it'll go through Sunday. And it'll end on Sunday morning. The men will face 3 different teams within the ACAC, like the Concordia Thunder, while the women will face 6. Admission cost is $5 per day or $10 for the entire weekend. And we wish the Bobcats and the Rustlers good luck this weekend and tonight as they compete to start off their season. We'll check in now with Shelby Clark, who has an extended look at your weather forecast heading into this weekend.
Yes, good luck to those teams out there for this weekend. We got a lot going on sports-wise, and thank you so much again, Jace, for that intro. Now heading into an extended look at your weather forecast now. We will be starting off with our central zone of our provinces to kind of see where we are sitting at temperature-wise, of course. We are still seeing slightly the same conditions as yesterday, but some have not only cooled down, but also warmed up, especially for Jasper that was sitting at that 13-14 mark yesterday. They are now warmed up by a few degrees for today. Other spots have cooled down just by a couple degrees to 18 and 19, while most are still just sitting over that 20-degree point. Whitecourt's just at 20, while it's 21 for Rocky Mountain House and Edmonton, 22 for Red Deer, and Cold Lake is seeing the coolest conditions at that 15. Going over to our Saskatchewan side, they are still seeing slightly the same conditions as well as yesterday. 19 in Melfort and Saskatoon, while the 17 up in Meadow Lake and over in Prince Albert and North Battleford is still seeing the nicer conditions there at 21. And going over to our northern zone now, they have slightly warmed up from what they were seeing yesterday as well. Most spots are still sitting at that 16 mark, but they're starting to get closer to 20 degrees. 19 for Flin Flon and Uranium City, while South End is just at 18, and it is 20 now in Wollaston Lake and Stony Rapids, so not looking too bad on that end anymore. And now switching back over to our Alberta side for here in our northern zone, they are still seeing not too bad of temperatures. Some have cooled down underneath that 20 degrees compared to yesterday. Seeing that 18 for Slave Lake, 19 for Grand Prairie, and up here in Fort McMurray. 20 degrees for both Peace River and High Level, while Fort Chipon is seeing the nicest condition over on this end at 21. And now going over to our southern zone, they are seeing slightly warmer conditions compared to the rest here. Lethbridge is just at 23 degrees. Medicine Hat is now definitely has cooled down, compared to the last few days in the week, seeing 19 for today, and they were just seeing past that 20 degrees for most days, but now they are just going underneath that. 21 up in Calgary, while it is 15 in Coronation, 17 over in Banff, so looking slightly cooled down over in our southern zone. And going back to our Saskatchewan side, they are still looking quite cool as well. Moose Jaw and Swift Current and Kindersley have slightly warmed up, seeing now between 18 to 20 degrees. The rest are still in the mid-teens range, with 14 in Estevan, 15 up in Yorkton, and Regina is still just sitting at 16. But now going back across the region and seeing what we will expect throughout our evening and throughout the night tonight as we head more into the weekend, we will still be seeing those single-digit temperatures for most spots across the region. Most spots will be expecting that low of 8 or 9 degrees tonight. Paradise Hill, Murnum, and Provost will be expecting the coolest with a low of 4, 5, and 6. Meadow Lake will just be seeing that low of 7, and Bonnyville and Isla Crosse will be one of the only spots there seeing that double digit with a low of 10. So not seeing too bad temperature-wise for most spots tonight as we head into Saturday, but as you can see, some are expecting a high chance of that precipitation later on in the evening, and Paradise Hill will even be seeing a high chance of that thunderstorm later on. And looking at our 3-day forecast for here in the Border City, as we were thinking, we were going to be seeing a beautiful weekend ahead. 19 tomorrow, mixture of some sun and cloud. Seeing that 18 on Sunday to end it off. Still seeing a lot more sun peeking behind those clouds. So seeing a beautiful weekend. Make sure you do take advantage and get out there because we may not be seeing any too nice weekends ahead. And then Monday, starting off next week, we will be starting off slightly cooler with that 15 with a little bit more mixture of some sun and cloud. And ending off with just showing off another one of your photo submissions. Once again, thank you to everyone that submitted some nice pictures. I love this one. Beautiful little sunset there with seeing that little fish on the rod. Thank you, Molly. And that's all I have for now. RJ Smacky will have more news coming up after the break. Joining us today for this week's entertainment panel is the lovely Abby St. John. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Abby.
Of course, I love being here.
Oh yeah, of course. This is the best part of every Friday here is our entertainment panel. And some big news that has been happening, of course, D23. So there has been a crazy amount of announcements just from that alone. Like you could see millions of trailers dropping, so much information on already projects we know about, but more information on each project. So seems like it's already gonna be crazy what everything is coming to, of course, Disney Plus and alongside that. So a little bit about what was announced. Have a little bit of information. We got like Indiana Jones 5, a lot of classic franchise that a lot of people are excited for. We get a little bit more on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Get a little bit more information on that. On Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We get a lot more information on that as well. So I think a lot of people are excited. Daredevil Born Again. But another big one is Thunderbolts.
Yes.
And of course, us Marvel gals, this is a big one. So let's talk a little bit about that.
We knew that Thunderbolts was going to happen. We got confirmation at the San Diego Comic-Con this year, so that's very exciting news. We knew it was happening. So of course we have Florence Pugh as Yelena. She is going to be the leader of the Thunderbolts, which I'm very, very excited for because I love her character, and where she took her character in Hawkeye was hilarious. Hannah John Kamen, who plays Ghost, who you would see in the second Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's also going to be on the team. Sebastian Stan is coming back as Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, baby.
That's going to be interesting. David Harbour, who we met in Black Widow, the Red Guardian, he is also going to be on the team, which I find hilarious, and I'm very excited to see the dynamic between Bucky Barnes and the Red Guardian because his personality is just all over the place, and I don't think Bucky Barnes is going to like that very much. We have Olga Kurylenko, who plays the Taskmaster in Black Widow. So she was the person who was fighting Natasha throughout most of the film. Wyatt Russell, of course, we know as John Walker, U.S. agent from Falcon and Winter Soldier. He was kind of the first person to be brought onto the team. And of course, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who plays Valentina, and she's kind of the recruiter, kind of like a Nick Fury. So that was very exciting news that we got. There's going to be a lot of personality clashing for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting, and I think everyone's really excited for it because it's going to be like a darker team. But other than, of course, some of the Marvel news, this is a huge one that we have to speak on when it came to D23, The Little Mermaid. Wow. So, you know, that little teaser came out, probably one of the most viewed ever because, you know, it's a live adaptation of The Little Mermaid. But the biggest thing, of course, is Halle Bailey, you know, a black woman playing as the Little Mermaid. And we were saying this is like a beautiful choice to be able to have this for, because you even look at her, you hear her singing in it. Absolutely amazing. Like there's nothing to even question when it comes to it. And of course, it's a mermaid. So why does it matter what race you are?
Exactly.
And I think, of course, there's controversy like crazy online. It's really sad to see all this racism. It's really showing. But yeah, talk a little bit about that, because that was honestly a revelation when that revealed. And there's so much to speak on like that, especially with like the kind of the trend, but not really a trend, of just showing the reaction of all those black little girls around the world, seeing this for the first time and seeing that, you know, representation of them on screen and just seeing that and hearing the voice. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think she was the perfect cast. Even the casting director, he went in an interview and said that she was the first person that they saw, and it kind of set the bar. As soon as she started singing, it set the bar for the rest, and nobody surpassed that. So she was the perfect choice. She has the face, kind of doll-like, kind of princess Disney-esque face that works very, very well within Disney. She has a beautiful voice, which she has proved before with her singing career with her sister Chloe. So I think there's no other person that could play her. I think Ariel is the perfect cast, you know, and of course there is that controversy, which shouldn't matter because, you know, this story is based on a very dark, twisted story back in like the 1800s, and nowhere in that story references her skin color. The only kind of reference to her complexion is that her skin is as clear as a rose leaf. Her complexion is perfect. There's no imperfections within it. That's what it was telling us. And if you look at the history and, you know, the folk tale of mermaids itself, it takes place in the Mediterranean Sea, which is Europe, Asia, and Africa. So it, even in mythology, there could be mermaids that have dark skin, light skin, have Asian complexions. Like, it doesn't matter because mermaids aren't real. So why is this such a big deal? I don't know. She still has red hair. It may not be as fiery red as everybody's
But she's
hoping.
also underwater. So when people are trying to say it's not as red, I'm like, do you know how realistic it looks when you're underwater with red hair?
Your hair looks darker when it's wet. So that's another thing. As long as it's the perfect choice, and they felt that Halle Bailey was the perfect choice, and I completely agree, especially after seeing that teaser trailer. We didn't get a ton. We saw maybe 5 seconds of her on screen at the end, but she's perfect.
Absolutely perfect, and I don't think it's a wrong casting choice at all. So people are just showing their racism when it comes to how they really react to it, and it's sad to say, but you know what, like you said, more lovers than haters out there, and that's all that matters, and it's going to be amazing. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week's entertainment panel. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Abby.
Thank you.
Coming up tomorrow, right here at Bud Miller Park, you and your family can head down for a lot of free family activities at Fall Fest. It runs from noon until 5, and when you get here, you're going to find a hay maze. Find your way out of the hay maze, and you have found a whole lot of family fun. There's going to be bouncy houses. There's going to be kids' games. The Lloydminster Museum and Archives, they're going to be here. They're bringing their heritage games with them. They're also going to have a craft tent set up. You've got the opportunity to take a horse and wagon ride throughout the park. You've also got the chance to take in some great live music. The Prairie Dogs are going to be here. Plus, fall scene photos of you and your family, and there's going to be delicious food. There's going to be a corn roast, a hot dog barbecue, and there's going to be a farmer's market with different vendors on hand as well. The City of Lloydminster and the Lloydminster and District Co-op, they hope you can join them tomorrow for Fall Fest right here at Bud Miller Park. How are you at collecting eggs, or what about trying to roll hay bales? Well, these are some of the challenges that you might have to face if you take part in the Manitou Pioneer Olympics. So grab a teammate and compete in everyday farm challenges for a chance to win the gold. These activities, this challenge, it's taking place at the Manitou Pioneer Museum in Neilburg coming up tomorrow, but they've got other activities planned as well, including pedal tractor pulls. There's going to be a tractor show and shine. There's going to be bouncy castles, kids games, and the 4-H Club's going to be there with a pie booth as well. So head for Neilburg tomorrow for the Manitou Pioneer Olympics. And coming up on Sunday is the annual Terry Fox Run. And here in Lloydminster, it's going to be right here at Bud Miller Park. You can register that morning at 9 a.m. Then the 5-kilometer run or walk. You can walk if you choose to. It'll get underway at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. You can also register right now at terryfox.org or just show up and join us on Sunday morning. Well, whatever you choose to do this weekend, we hope you stay safe and stay healthy.
What's Happening is brought to you by Northern Factory Workwear, Circle Drive East, Saskatoon, and Highway 17 South, Lloydminster.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Joining us today for Primetime Local News is Brad Gallimore and Tigran Lee Campbell. Thank you both so much for taking the time to be able to speak with us today.
Thank you so much for having us again.
Of course, no problem. I'm really glad you both were able to take, the time out of your day to be able to join us and help get the word out about this, because we're going to be speaking on the Vermilion Culture Festival that's going to be coming up here soon. So for people out there that may not have heard about this festival, can you kind of explain what this, what it all entails?
Yes, absolutely. So Vermilion Culture Fest, this is our second annual. We had our first Vermilion Culture Fest last year, and it's a celebration of multiculturalism in the Lakeland community. So our goal is to connect all of the diverse cultures and the multiculturalism that's in the Lakeland region and just bring it all into one hub once a year, where we get to see different performances, eat different types of foods, have local vendors that sell homemade crafts, just so much stuff. So that's what it's about. Obviously, it's in Vermilion at the curling rink, and everyone should come out. I'm super, super, super excited for it.
And with it being the second annual, you were saying, how was that support for the first year? What did you kind of see with that from residents and from people in the Lakeland region?
Yeah, our first year was really good. We did have to abide by restrictions last year. But even with that being said, we still had a great turnout for being our first year. So I'm hoping that this year is just bigger and better. We have more awareness now. So yeah, I'm hoping that it was great last year, but I want it to be better this year.
And for this year, of course, you're just saying about the restrictions, a lot of things have changed since last year. So for this year, is there any kind of changes that people can expect that are, have went to the first one or are planning to come for the second annual festival?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, last year there was actually restrictions were put in place like literally a week before our event. So of course, not only were we scrambling, but people coming were like, what do we do? Is like, what do we have to do? And I was like, I don't even know anymore. But this year it's, we don't have to do anything. If you want to take precautions, please do. And, some people still will be, but there are no restrictions this year as far as the masks or the social distancing. So honestly, it's a matter of coming out and enjoying cultures that you may not get to experience on a regular basis.
Perfect. And for people that, want to kind of find out some more information for this festival, can you kind of expand on, what days they are, what time and where it is, just so they can know for sure?
Absolutely. So it'll be Saturday, September 24th and Sunday, September 25th. On the Saturday, we'll be there from 11 to 5, and we'll have performances right from 11:30 to 2, and then again at 2:30 to 4:30. So, most people are only going to show up for about an hour, hour and a half tops, and we're going to make sure that there's plenty of entertainment for you. There's going to be some good shopping, and the performances are out of this world. I mean, some of the people we have coming to do things will absolutely blow your mind. And we will have a schedule for approximate times, again, we're doing just 2 hours straight of entertainment. So when I say someone's at 11:45, they might be at 11:50, and I apologize. But we will have the schedule up on the Vermilion Culture Fest Facebook page, as well as our website, lvefoundation.com. And we'll have the schedules. And also you'll be able to, on the Sunday, register for a Kairos blanket exercise from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock with an amazing facilitator and an elder who's going to talk about their experiences as well.
Perfect. And, since this is only the second year for this, and hopefully it's going to be continuing annually, from here on out, having them one every September, I guess. But for, when it first came up with the idea of this, to have this festival, why do you believe it's so important to have this?
I believe that it is really important to have it, because what better way to learn about different cultures than with, performances and food and fun. So I do really think that it brings us all together under in one location, just so that we can learn about each other. And I really do feel like this will break stereotypes and stigmas, and I feel like that's a really important part of learning.
I think it's just important to be able to connect with people that you might not normally connect with, right? If your workplace is predominantly one culture, you might not get to experience other ones. And I think that's a great shame. I mean, other cultures are incredible. And again, it's performances and food. So like, it's a pretty darn good way to learn.
Yeah. And the Kairos blanket exercise, I really feel like we, because it's so close to September 30th with Orange Shirt Day, I do feel like that will be extremely impactful. I've been to a couple, and they leave me very emotional, and I learn something different every time. So if anyone out there that's watching this hasn't been to a Kairos blanket exercise, please register for this one. The two facilitators are amazing. We're also having a guest speaker as well to speak on their experiences. So yeah, highly recommend it. I will be putting out a poster for that shortly.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much again for joining me today. I know you both so well, and you do great work in the community and everywhere else, in the surrounding area. So I'm really glad we're able to speak on this and help get the word out, and more people will be able to show up for this culture festival, because it's important to be able to, like you said, experience all these other cultures. It's some beautiful cultures out there. So thank you both again so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us. Yes.
Ending off with taking a quick look at your 7-day forecast here. We will be seeing a nice weekend ahead with a mixture of some sun and cloud. 19 tomorrow, 18 Sunday. So get ready, get out there and take advantage of this beautiful weekend, because we might not be seeing too nice of weather coming up soon in the fall, but don't worry. Hopefully we will be. And then next week we will be seeing a much cooler week. 15 on Monday with a lot more of a cloudier overcast. Seeing that 13 Tuesday on Wednesday as well next week. So we will be seeing some cooler days ahead. Then ending off the week next week, we will be warming it back up on next Thursday with 18, and seeing that 20 mark once again next Friday. All right, thank you so much for that, Shelby. You got to go out and enjoy the weather, like you said. Terry Fox Run's happening on Sunday. Lots going on here in Lloydminster. That does it for our first hour of primetime local news, but stick with us. Our second hour continues next.